Oh, hell no. I got into visual novels around, like, the last 2 years. And since then, I've played my fair share of a lot of visual novels. Between my own experience and the general, zeitgeist surrounding the genre, my conception of visual novels has always been that they are video games, but with a story and words that could rival the pages of a book. Anytime I'd sit down to start a new one, I'd always have to mentally prepare for the journey ahead, knowing that I was going to get invested in a lengthy narrative that required me to flex my reading comprehension skills. Shit, I can't read! Like any story, having a lot of words to tell it can make it good and have a certain amount of depth. Fleshing out characters, building a complex narrative. I imagined for a long time that a certain amount of visual novels were written to be this way, because the authors both had the freedom to flesh out their stories, and as well as the expectation of publishers to make a robust enough story for it to be a best-selling video game. This design philosophy has arguably given us some of the most impactful and strong stories ever, at least in my opinion. And I don't think it's a stretch to say that the length of these games is what makes them so good. Danganronpa's executions carries weight because you get to know the characters before they get brutally murdered. You get sucked into this person's madness because you spend a lot of time getting to know them. And this twists of stories consistently makes me crap my pants because everything you thought you know about the story, you didn't. And keep in mind that this isn't even getting into stuff like Fate and Tsukihime that are even longer and follow some specific character routes. And most of the appeal comes with spending a lot of time with the characters that you like. Yeah, like when these two guys met, argue on whether magic is real for 45 hours. But ultimately, what I'm trying to say is that the time investment in visual novels makes them so good. But now as time moves on, we're actually seeing a lot of shorter visual novels that don't have much of those prior expectations. You can pretty much say that about literally any genre of game. But I feel like visual novels have added coolness in that you don't have to rely on playing the game. You just read the story. If you want a novel to be longer, you just have to write more words. There's not really any way around it. But with shorter VNs, I feel like that desire to make a strong impact with a time constraint, whether it's intentional or not, forces authors to be more creative with their game's design and to be more deliberate with the way they write their story. Shorter word counts usually mean that there's less or no fluff. Each individual line of text carries some sort of weight to it, and it's important to the overall experience. Once again, this isn't exclusive to short VNs, but I feel like they have to try a lot harder to get it right compared to longer visual novels. Why describe the feeling of being a late-night bartender, or the hardness of mixing a cocktail when you could just make the player do it themselves? If done well, these kind of short stories can be just as poignant as extended long visual novels. And even though there isn't really much content to look back on, I feel like with short VNs you can still look back at them in a memorable way though. All you have to do is help her go to the store and get milk. Only problem, the world looks like, well, this. A bit crushed nightmare. Like a Game Boy that had all the green replaced with purple, where the only sounds you hear are the droning music and the cute little beeps and boops every once in a while. It's a simple premise, right? Go to the store and buy some milk. But this entire game permeates the feeling of anxiety and uncertainty. So you're not really sure what's going on or how you're supposed to feel about it. You start by inputting your own name, but the game is presented from the first person's perspective of the girl, who uses the pronoun I to identify herself in her own thoughts. So already it's kind of ambiguous what your role is in all of this. And the game's filled with little moments that honestly just make you question the liability of the girl as a narrator, and hell, even yourself as the player. The girl will break the fourth wall, she'll talk about conversations that didn't happen, and dialogues will get trapped in infinite loops. All the while, the game is aware that all of this is happening. Even the player character isn't totally in line with the player themselves. You often have the choice to pick between positive and encouraging choices, or, well, the exact opposite. Basically, negative, hateful responses. But sometimes you only get one option, which clearly doesn't align with any of your previous decisions, making you question just how much your choices actually matter, or if the choices are even yours to make. Combined with the oppressive music, dark red art, and the story in general, this should make for a very uncomfortable experience. It kind of does, but the game kind of balances it out by having a great sense of humor, at least in the first half. And I guess this is really all tied together by the really natural sounding dialogue. The casual exchanges between the girl and the player character create an immediate sense of familiarity, which is really impressive considering how short the game's length is, of really just about 15 to 30 minutes. And with the writing and atmosphere, it creates an experience that's surprisingly intimate at times. The game manages to balance its tone and hit every emotional beat it needs to, really without fumbling once. And you genuinely feel like you went on a little trip and experienced something, and hell, even a bit of this girl's life. It is a certified vibe. I really don't want to say too much more, because it's such a short experience, and I don't really want to spoil more than I've already have, to be honest. So do yourself a favour and go play it. It's only around €50 on Steam, so yeah. If you've played Valhalla, you've probably seen Coffee Talk be recommended to you on Steam as another visual novel barista simulator. And while it does have some obvious similarities in terms of gameplay and genuine storytelling, pretty much, these are two very different games. And for starters, this story is a Kinzu fantasy and a temporary contained story. It takes place in basically New York with humans living alongside animal thingamajiggers. From as early as the title screen, this game absolutely nails the mellow, rainy vibes of running a coffee shop, and I love it. It has soft piano chimes that punctuates the vibe of this. The game looks really nice. The art looks so nice, and it helps itself distinguish itself from other games. Seriously, the pixel art is beautiful. It makes the game, and it also just adds a great level of polish. It's very visually stunning, having so many different types of character designs, but there's also silhouettes doing stuff in the background, which I think is super funny. And also a lot of different people visit the cafe, which gives you an idea of how this culture of people has decided to live together. And there's also lines of people talking about wouldn't it be crazy if people were still racist against each other if we didn't exist, which is really funny because people are still racist to each other even though these people don't exist. It doesn't go whole Lord of the Rings level of the racist stuff, but it does what it needs to do, and that's why this is also a good visual novel. Hey, and at least it doesn't completely lie to you, you need to be living under a rock if you don't know the plot twist of Doki Doki Literature Club, because oh my god, it is shocking. If you haven't been spoiled on anything, I'd highly recommend going into this visual novel without knowing anything about it. So, I'm not really going to say much about it, but if you know, you know. All you need to know is that Doki Doki is a great 4-hour visual novel, and it left a bigger impact on me than most other things that were longer than 4 hours. It set the internet on fire when it became popular because of the insane plot twist. But that's what I think. You only need to know that much. So yeah, I think I'm gonna end the video here. Anyways, that's really all the visual novels I wanted to go over. I hope you enjoyed this video.